So hello everybody, thanks for coming. I have to apologize in advance. I have a bit of a cold, so if I cough uncontrollably in the middle of this, I hope I don't blow your eardrums out. I would like to thank all the organizers of the conference, Baptiste, Balash, Judith, Zeista. They've done a wonderful job. So could we give them a hand? Thank you. They work very, very hard. Okay, so my presentation today is going to be about a piece of software called Substance D. My name is Chris McDonough, and I am from the United States. I live in Virginia. I work with two other guys, just a very small consultancy. You can find me on Twitter and on RC most of the time. I come from Zope, more or less. I started working with Python through Zope. I worked at the company who produced Zope starting in 2000, left there in about 2003. Since then, I stuck with Python, and now we sort of do our own things. As I said, we're this small consulting company, and I have to, do a pitch. We are available for work if anyone needs consulting work. So some of the things that I've done recently, or more recently, have been I'm the original author of the supervisor process controller. I was sort of the original author of the Pyramid Web Framework, and the Pyramid Web Framework is part of this larger brand called Pylons, which has a bunch of other stuff in it, like web forms and serialization libraries and all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of a super brand. And then there's this other set of technologies that we call Repose, which is a bunch of WSGI middleware. And WSGI is the protocol that Python uses to talk between applications and web servers. So all this stuff's open source. This is sort of the non-consulting side of what I do. So this piece of software I've come up with now is a new piece of software. It's built on top of the Pyramid web framework, and I've been calling it an application server. If you hear this talk and you have a better name for it, please let me know. Because I don't want to call it a web framework because we already have a web framework, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So in this system, I'm going to go sort of blow through these little bullet points because this is really boring, listening to somebody talk about features. But I'm just going to sort of, here's what I want to show you in the demonstration of this thing, just so you get an idea of what the thing can do. The idea is that developers define content types through plain old Python that then users can go manipulate through a graphical UI. So basically, cruddy sort of system, but extensible in a way. And the content is actually stored in an object database in a tree. So although that object database might be stored in SQL, it need not be. So this is not a SQL-bound system. This is another kind of system. So. The name Substance D comes from a highly addictive drug in the book and/or movie A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick, who wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Blade Runner, Total Recall, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason I named it this way is because I've been doing this sort of thing for a long time, and I can't seem to quit it. So I just kind of wrote it again. The stuff that we were using before to do it was getting a little old, but I can't quite seem to get off the drugs. So one of the features of this thing is this graphical admin UI, which is called the SDI, the Substance D interface, whatever. We'll be seeing that a little bit more, but that's sort of what the shape of it is. It lets people who aren't experts, just normal users, edit contents that developers define. So a developer goes in, makes a content type, then users can add that content type, edit that content type, et cetera, et cetera. And it is a view of this hierarchical object space, which is kind of like a file system. So when you see it, when you see a folder icon, you know that you can put folders in folders, and just like your file system. It also lets you manage less content-y things like database stuff, and ACLs for security, and users and groups and things like that. So it's also a real-time system, meaning that if you make a change, to some collection view or whatever, other people who are using the system at the same time will see the change without having to refresh the page. And it's extensible, so if you can live within some constraints, you don't have to write as much code. So some of its unique features are it has undo. So if you make a mistake, you can undo any action. You can sort of walk up to it either programmatically or through the UI and click undo. It's got a very, very comprehensive security system that lets you manage content on a very granular level. Lots of systems let you say, Bob can edit posts. Like sort of that's the level of granularity that most systems give you. This system gives you the granularity of Bob can edit this post, but not this other post. So it's very granular. You can also workflow content, bring it through states. Different groups can do different things to it. It's got indexing, searching of content, sort of like you would expect from any halfway competent system. It's got relationships, and you can evolve your database migration stuff. You can dump and load content. And it's got an activity log, auto log stuff. And it's also got built-in performance monitoring so that you can hook it up to any StatsD service and get an idea of what it's doing. And it runs on Python 3 or Python 2. So all that was sort of just in preparation for me to show you this thing, which is a lot more interesting than me talking about it. So the first thing I want to show you was, I said developers define content. I'm going to show you how developers define content by just sort of going into a buffer in a project that this is sort of just the project that we use to develop Substance D itself. It's called SDI Dev. And the actual package is called SDI Demo. But I'm not sure if everybody can see. Yeah, it's not too bad. Basically, we have a class, and we inherit from this other class called persistent, which means that it can be persisted into the object database. On top of that class, we have this content decorator that sort of says things about the content, what kind of content type name it is, its icon, what its add view name is, and what property sheets it has. And this is basically it. This is how you define a content type and make it available to the system. When you start up, these decorators are scanned at startup time for new registrations, and they sort of populate a registry. So that's how you, as a Python programmer, interact with this system. You make content types for other people to use. Obviously, this is a really simple one. It only has like one property sheet, and it's a document, and it doesn't, it stores, some HTML and shows it back again. So once we have those kind of definitions in the system, we can actually walk up to the system and we can go ahead and I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger so it's not wrapped. Or not. Oh well. I'm going to add a document to the system. So that thing that we just made, that piece of content, we can go add to the root folder now. I'm just going to give it a name, RuPy, and a title, RuPy is awesome, and a body. Okay. So now I've now added a document called RuPy in here, and it's there. We can go sort of see that it's part of this thing. We can take this this document and we can move it. We can move it to another folder. Just sort of like your normal file system-y stuff. and we can delete it, sort of edit it again if I walk up to the thing. Obviously, it's just very, very simple cruddy stuff. So I'm just going to go delete it from where I just moved it to. And we will see that once I delete it, okay, it's gone, But actually, if I go back here, I can see it in the undo log that it actually is undoable. So I go undo those two actions. The second action there where it says indexing action, that's actually a separate system that indexes contents when they are added. So we have to undo both of those transactions. And now that I've done that, we actually have RuPy back again in that folder. So this doesn't seem like much different than a file system or whatever. The difference is these things are actually objects in this database. And the way that this actually helps you is that since we have this tree of content, things are very extensible. They're extensible on two levels. So this document that we have in here, I'm not sure if everybody can see that URL, probably not. But the end of that URL has a little add properties thing. And what that URL actually means is go to the server. We're going to put a prefix and manage on there. That's how we tell the system that we want to go to the SDI itself. But then we have another folder name inside of there, which is Joey Jimmy. And then we have a RuPy object, and we want to look at the properties view of the RuPy object. So if you notice, the URL reflects the containment structure of this stuff. So when you want to go add a new piece of content to the thing or sort of add a new system to it, or add a new subsite or something, you just add a new folder somewhere, a new containerish object. You don't change a routing map in your system to all of a sudden have a new feature of some kind, basically. And what this is nice for is if you have customers of customers of customers, lots of times you need to delegate access to people who need to do the same sort of things as you do. They might need to add users or edit content or whatever. You can do that, and you can give them control over one portion of the site by sort of making these containerish objects. And because you're actually not changing the software, all you're doing is changing the data, you don't have to go in and sort of redeploy. You just give them access to the thing and write it in such a way that you can do that in the first place. So, oops. So one of the other features of the system is you can go manage things that aren't quite content-y. You can walk up to the system and go to something like the database tab here. And the database tab has a number of features. You can sort of, do some management things. Every once in a while you need to clean out the database called a pack. But you can also use this evolution system. So we can see that there are a number of evolve steps that people have registered over time because, even though this is a schemaless database, you still need to go evolve your data over time to match what the code expects. So you're able to write these small little scripts that actually convert all your data into the new format, and we can actually just run those here. That's a pretty nice feature. And another thing too, I'm going to show you one of the most fun things about this system or the thing that I like the best is that, okay, if I can get my drop, there it is. So right now, if you notice, we have tons of tabs and, sort of content objects and everything. I'm going to log out from the admin account. The admin account, in this case, is allowed to see anything. This is just a convention. There's no special user named admin. It's just he happens to have the right permissions to do this. And I'm going to log in as somebody else. And so we see a much more constrained view of the system. He only sees the contents tab and the properties tab, and he doesn't see a bunch of things like the catalog and the lock service and all this other stuff. And the way we've done that is that the admin user himself has gone in and said, for this object, this thing called catalogs, I want to let all the admins see this object, but I want to not allow anyone else to do that for only this object. And the same thing for the lock service and whatever. So you can filter the contents views for non-admin users just by changing security declarations. The same thing's for the tabs. If you notice that the admin has a database tab, he's got undo, he's got auditing, but the non-admin user doesn't have those things because he just doesn't have permission to see them. So you can change the system dynamically based on the roles the user has. So I'm going to show you a small feature which is kind of cool. Balash has done a lot of work for us on a grid system. The thing that drives this content view is actually a JavaScript component called SlickGrid, and it's quite nice. And we've done a bunch of work to it so that we can actually put lots and lots of content in these things. So I'll go to a system that we worked on for, oops, wrong place. We worked on for a customer, and go into this posts folder, and we can see that there are almost 100,000 objects in here. That's not a whole lot. We could do a lot more than that, but that's still enough to give us some sense of, as we scroll through this set of content, we don't have to page. There's no back and forth. It's sort of all Ajax-y requests, and we could actually probably handle 500,000 or 1 million items in a folder at any given time. It wouldn't be a problem. Another thing you notice about this particular view is that we've customized the way these things look, so that it's not just the name of the thing we want to show, we're showing some summary of it. And so this system, and we have different buttons and different tabs and drop downs and everything. You can also extend the system that way. So I'll show you a view that does not come with stock substance D, which will give you some idea of how sort of easy customizations you can make. In this case, we'll go to the same system, and we'll go to the Sites tab. And this application is for a customer, produces a daily website. Basically, it's like a newspaper, except it's just online. So these things are editions of newspapers. One is called EHN, that's Environmental Health News. The other one is called The Daily Climate. We can walk up to the other one, and actually, let me go to this one. So they have different editions. They have the staging edition, the published edition, and the backup edition of this thing. So we'll walk up to the staging edition, and we'll see that this is highly customized sort of UI for them. We can pick a slot that we want to change. To be honest with you, I forget how this works, but in any case, you can see that this we can fit lots of different kinds of things into this system, lots of different kinds of use cases. I will show you sort of some different things we've built with this. One is a shopping site for hunters. I think they still use BMPs to upload their pictures. But this is basically a site that just lets you buy hats and jackets and whatever. So as you can see, it's not just a content management system. It's a system for building websites, more or less. This is a retail view of a tree that we've built inside of this thing. So if you notice, the URL says store QEcom, products, clothing, Yukon pants, whatever. If I walk up to its sort of SDI representation, which is nowhere to be found. Oh, right. Yes, I'm sorry. I actually don't have it, but there is an object in the management view of that thing that would let us see it if I don't have access to this thing anymore. Sorry. So we can also use the audit log in this system, which is basically just a listing of things that have happened over time. So we can see that users have logged in, somebody changed their passwords, content was removed or whatever, and this stuff gets historied out, so you can write it to the file system if you're worried about people doing weird things to your system. And then we have indexing, searching of content. I will show you the query language for the way you search for content in a system. Let's see. So this little bit of hair here is sort of the way that we query, and we grab an index and we ask for, in this case, we're going to say, if the content type equals song and it allows the permission view and the filter text is such that it matches, return it. So this is a small query language that's not entirely unlike a SQL query language, but it's not a SQL query language. It's just a something maybe like SQL Alchemy, I guess, if people are used to that, or the Django ORM. And so that thing drives the views that we built. We were in this WizG War competition not too long ago where we were asked to come up with something in 48 hours that worked. So we came up with this karaoke site in 48 hours, and so the thing that we just looked at, the query we just looked at, is what drives this songs list here. So these are all the songs that match. If I type you, I guess it should do something. The internet was much faster when I was sitting over there. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking about features because I'm boring myself. But I'm going to tell you what this is built with. This is built with ZODB, which is a ZOP object database, Pyramid, a system called Hypatia, which is an indexing and querying system, a thing called Colander, which is a serialization library, and Deform, which is a form library. And obviously all in Python. And here are some sites that run in production that we sort of saw before, this QU site and environmental health news site. So our release plan, first alpha release, this isn't quite out in release yet. You can go get it from GitHub. But it sort of depends how fast we can work down a bug list that's in GitHub. Probably, I'm hoping before PyCon before US PyCon, which is in April, I think, we can get it out the door. If not, then somewhere shortly after that. And this is where you can go. It's on GitHub. If you just search for Subsidy on GitHub, or you can go to subsidy.net to take a look at it. And that's it. I'll take questions if anybody has one. Anybody?
At the beginning, you told us that you can edit details in one window and it's automatically updated in another window without page refresh. Can you show an example of that?
Yeah, I can. Hang on a second. So, let me go to the same server here. So let's say that over here I delete ASDF. So these are two, obviously two browsers on two different systems. If I delete ASDF here, it's gone. So yeah, and the same thing for sort of the security view here. If I go in and change the ACL, if I go in and add something like that, it shows up in both places. So it's pretty. We're going to add more features like that. It's only in like 5 places right now, but hopefully it'll be pervasive by the time it's out. So, anybody else? All right. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.